Light Eagle, Lauren Zephyr, was one of the co-creators who sat for weeks on end and meditated on each one of these symbols and were given the definitions both universally and spiritually. And he's walking that talk, believe me. These people put in their lives into this work of helping humanity and the planet. So I'm sure his presentation is going to continue along the lines of the symbols. Is that correct? Can't see you at all. This is so fun. I wish you guys on TV land could see that we can't see. But I see this outline over there underneath all the twinkles. Sparkly. Chief, would you please come join us? My brother, Chief Golden Light Eagle. Already announced it. You missed it.
Yo Mashiach, hey Mishishi. Yo Mashiach, hey Mishishi. Yo Mashiach, hey Mishishi. Yo hey wa, 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 yo Mashiach, hey Mishishi, yo Mashiach, hey Mishishi, yo Mashiach, hey Mishishi, yo hey wa, 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 yo hey wa. That's what Emmanuel is one of his favorite songs. And his energy is here because you're here. You could sit down. Thank you. Testing. Now, we have all been incarnated thousands of times on Mother Earth. And not just once or twice or 3 times or 4 times as a 2-leg, but also you have been a blade of grass 7 lifetimes. You have been as a stone 7 lifetimes. You've been a tree 7 lifetimes, and many trees. You've been everything on this earth lifetimes. So this is why this prayer is said. We are all related. We are all relatives. And we all resonate to certain things on Mother Earth that we usually use as a totem. We speak with everything now through the ways of heart and through the ways of your sacredness. And also, we've opened up so much to the mind of man, the sacred mind of man, to the ways of telepathy, the ways of how the spirit of the star people guide us. Now, in this way, through reincarnation, there was a man that came, and he was asked to come, and he came through the ways of the Palladian nations. And before he came to Mother Earth, he had to know why he was to come here, and why his vibration was very high, so he had to go down and be part of that fallen, they call them the fallen angel societies that went from one dimension and lowered themselves because of the love that they had for human being. So when they incarnated into the Pleiadians, it took him 12,000 years just to remember why he was there. And after that, when he was asked to come to this earth plane to help humanity, help brothers and sisters, because brothers were killing brothers at that time. And there was so much through the ways of evolution that was necessary in order for this things to start happening. So when he came here, he did and had to go through the same laws that we had to go through with the universal and spiritual laws here on Mother Earth. So it took him many, many, many lifetimes just to get to where he was recognized with the teachings of creation and that of this universe and the spirit. So when we were given the awakening and the remembrances of the universal and spiritual laws, we were given and gifted through the ways of the star people, the Galactic Federation. And they gave it to us through these little bars that were attached to every light ship that came into this earth plane. And these bars were the set of symbols, and they were small, from 1 inch to 6 inches high and up to 18 feet across. And all these starships that came into this earth plane, they all had a set of symbols that were exactly the same. So from those symbols, we knew that the importance of them was very necessary for us to know them, to look at them, and learn from them. Now from these symbols, we learned later that there was 11 universal and 11 spiritual laws, which made up what we call the 1111. And from that time, we have been working with these laws and learning and putting them they're in our DNA as a remembrances, and walking them through the ways. We use the moon cycles and the ways of the sun to embed them in our heart. So this, as you could see, and you're reading here on the screen, there's so much that was in this book that people didn't see. And we extracted what you're seeing up here, everything that had the word creation. And through every statement, he talked about the laws of creation, the laws of creation, the laws of nature. And this was over 2,000 years ago. Now, I was introduced to this by one of my nephews, and he spoke about this. And so he went on Amazon. There was only 2 books left. So he ordered them. He gave one to me. And this is what I extracted from looking at it. And if you look at it, almost every phrase that you see, there's the word creation in there, right? Okay, and there's also other things that you need to recognize, because everything is connected. We're all connected. So when we went through a lot of this through ceremony back home and amongst our own, different star relatives, light beings like you, to extract and bring back the remembrances. And a lot of you came from the future to correct some of the things and create the knowing that's necessary for what's going on later. So this is why we're here, is to remember. So when my nephew brought this book, we found out that there were some chapters missing. There were some chapters missing, maybe about four chapters missing in the book. So when we brought the information back through, what happened is that my companion Joan, 2 Stars woman, she took the book and had it here, and so I went over here and you could say, channeled the message through, and there were word for word in the book, uncut, not edited, 0. But what we found out was when I brought these other chapters through that spirit, I was just the voice, So when she was looking at the book and looking at the video, she says, "Oh, there's nothing here." But so the spirit moved those missing chapters through the ceremony. So we have them in the back there. There's 7 videos of all the information plus the connection to why it's necessary, why what we have today is necessary for our walk. So even way back then, Emmanuel, we know him as Yellow Hand. The Shoshone, the Arapahoes in this country, in this area, they knew him as Yellow Hand. See, every culture, every nationality, every circle where he went and helped, he had a different name. He had a different name. So the tribes, the indigenous peoples, when I went out to speak with some of them, they told me and shared with me the name of that which they knew him by. So Wichasha Luta, Morning Star, so he helped all over the earth plane. He helped because he has this law that his favorite law is the universal law of love. So, and he first introduced himself to me in our ceremony, and it surprised me because I didn't expect that. And I didn't expect a bearded man to come into in our ceremony. I was used to seeing eagles and elk and deer and our relatives, our ancestors come and visit, but this man come. So he told me his name. I already knew his name. So he said, "Remember my suffering, my pain, for some odd reason," and he shot through me everything that he was going through while he was going through this change we call crossing over. He had extreme, undeniable love for his mother, looking at his mother. He had compassion for these 2 men that was in the same program as he was in, not knowing they were. And he had fear of dying, and he had doubt because they more or less told him that, if your God is so great, he's going to come and save you. He had all these emotions, and when he threw them into me, it took me 4 days to speak. Every time I opened my mouth, I start crying. Him and his mother were cleaning me out really good, because when you carry the vibration of spirit and the vibration of your ancestors, you have to have a pure heart. That's their vibration. If you have a lot of anger, a lot of negative emotions, that's not their energy. They're going to back off from you for a while until you straighten yourself up. Then they're going to come back. And we do the same to other people that are around us, right? Same thing. So our energy, under the laws of light, sound, vibration, the laws of attraction, is happening right now. We're all family. We're all family. We all walked together many, many lifetimes, and we're still here again, helping each other to remember. So this way that this Emmanuel talks about, he talked about the laws of creation, but he didn't tell in the books what they were. So when the star people gave them to us to give to everybody, we still didn't know what they were. So over the years, we shared the universal law of free will, the spiritual freedom of all, the universal law of change, the spiritual law of growth, the universal law of movement and balance, and the spiritual strength, health, and happiness, the universal law of symmetry, the spiritual law of equality, okay? The universal law of innocence, truth, and family, and the spiritual protection of family, universal law of life, spiritual law of choice, the universal law of light, sound, vibration, the spiritual law of intuition, the universal law of judgment, the spiritual law of karma, the universal law of nature, the spiritual protection of mankind, the universal law of perception, and the spiritual law of future sight. So these universal and spiritual laws, 11 universal and 11 spiritual laws, make up the 11. The universal laws are feminine, very feminine. The spiritual laws are masculine. Now the Spirit goes on further and says there are cosmic laws and there's also natural law. But they said they're on the other side. Over here on this side, we work with universal and spiritual laws. If you work with all four, they said you're going to end up with like that little girl over there. And at that time, we didn't understand who the little girl was that knows all these laws. We found out that it's Grandma Chandra. So, but there's a law, I have to share this with you. There's a law in there that says that you cannot say anything to anybody unless you are asked. See? So when Grandma Chandra comes here, make sure you have some good questions if you ever ask. See? And she also warns you, don't ask me a question that you don't want to hear the answer to. So that's why she's quiet. That's one of the laws. So she has telepathy, 100%, because of the law. So I want to share also with you with Mount Shasta. You know, she asked me a question. Grandma, where am I from? Oh, you're from Pleiades. Grandma, where am I from? Oh, you're from Andromeda. You know, Grandma, where am I from? Oh, you're from Sirius. Grandma, where? And she finally got tired of it. And she said, I don't want to hear any more questions about where you're from. It's just like saying, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Boulder. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Fort Collins. You know. So what? Make it worthwhile, your questioning. And don't treat her like a psychic. Go to a psychic, because you're a psychic. You know, and it's programmed questioning. You know. So don't do that. We're very high vibrational people, and our missions, we got to remember why we're here. This is remembrance. Where did we come from? Why are we here? What is our responsibility? What is our purpose? And where are we going with it? See? So the whales and all of nature, they give us answers to this, to everything. So, and in these writings, they also talk about, you know, the laws of nature. And I was saying, why are they talking about the laws of nature? And it just hit me. It was just, you know, just a dumb question to myself. But yeah, the nature is telling us so much. We just have to remember to listen and remember the language. And usually it starts with silence. And the sun is very important. Opening yourself up to the language of the sun, because their language is a little bit different. You got to listen with your eyes. Okay? Did you ever hear that? Listen with your eyes. because your eyes are really important. If your eyes go down, then your body and the rest of your senses are going to take over. See? If you hear something, sound creates an image. If you listen to those elk bugling, you see them in your mind's eye, right? If you hear a dog bark, you see that figure of that dog, or any other animal that you recognize the sound to. And what's kind of funny is I have a friend up here in Cheyenne. When an airplane goes by, he knows what type of airplane it is by the sound. Yeah, the sound. Well, that's a Cessna, da-da-da. How do you know that? You know, well, it's the sound, their motor. Dogs do that. When you drive up, they know that they just don't, they recognize your sound of your car miles away. So we have to recognize the vibration of each other because we're into this knowing, this knowledge, this way. Sometimes when you think about somebody, right away, somebody knocks on your door and you say, oh, I was just thinking about you, right? When somebody calls you and you know exactly who it is, right? Because you have caller ID. You can't remember their number anymore. But yes, we're into a knowing. We know. And we feel. That's what it's about, this age. It's not about Pisces anymore. It's a masculine age of the mind. When the Piscean age was coming in 2,000 years ago, the women were being knocked down. You know, they were being stoned to death. And we have Emmanuel's sister, which was very important at that time, and nobody's talking about her. She's the main ingredient through this whole system. She's one of the signatures of Palladian, along with her brother. They were twins. Emmanuel and Emmanuela, we call her. She was the one. The Spirit told us, just out of the blue, it wasn't that man that died on the cross. It was his sister that the government was after and they murdered. Then the Spirit left. So I was in Phoenix, Scottsdale, did a lecture, and one of the things was these men, when they give a message from Spirit, they know that I'm going to talk and share it. So when we was in Scottsdale, I know that when you speak like this, when you first get up, you have 100% attention, right? Everybody looks at you and stares at you, and who the hell is this guy, you know? So you got 100%. And until your subject matter kind of like goes this way or that way, then people start looking at their iPads and their iPhones and see if somebody texts them, and you know, right? So anyway, so you lose interest as you talk. So I knew that. Now, so that was the first thing I asked the audience. I said, "Hey, does everybody know about channeling? Raise your hand." So they all raised their hand. Okay, do you trust the channel that you work with? Raise your hand. So they'll raise their hand. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. Now listen. So this is what I told them. I said, the Spirit came, told us that it wasn't this man that died on the cross. It was his sister that the government was after and they murdered. And you know what I heard? I heard a lot of from the women folk. They knew something, but they just, everybody's afraid because they're fear-based systems in part of religion. You're going to go to hell if you don't believe this, you know. And it's not about religion. It's about truth. It's about truth. And that's what we're about. We're always searching for truth, right? All the time. That's what we're about. That's what we live. So when we find it, we got to deprogram this little thing up here. This one knows already. This one doesn't have a clue. So we come, and he was still talking about what was going on way back when, what we talk about what's going on now. Look at that beautiful stuff coming down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. We deserve it. We deserve it. I had that dream where it's still snowing. So we have to continue. So all these laws, the universal and spiritual laws, we have them. And the Spirit allowed a group of us men to come together in ceremony from December 6th, which is the birthday of my companion there and her sister, the two women that look alike back there. They're twins, Jenny and Joan. We started on that day, and we did ceremony until April. We got all the information. The Spirit said, take it out. Spirits are ready. The people are ready. I guess your spirits too. People are ready. So this is what we did. We started the Star Knowledge Conferences in 1996, and we're still going on with the message. And not just that, but we go do lots of ceremony. We follow the moon cycle, 13 moon cycle, which is a part of this. So the first time when we opened it up, all these teachings of these symbols, there was a conglomeration of many people that came. The military was there, as you know, and the government agencies were there, NATO, UN people, light workers, New Agers, medicine people, name it, CIA, FBI, they were there. And if this wasn't so real, why would it attract so many people from different walks of life for 5 days? This is nothing compared to what we had to put up with way back then to open up. And we did it amongst my people because I understand one of the rules that somebody made up, some kind of way that no prophet is welcome in their own land. So I had to do it that way. And yes, protesters came. Yeah, they came. You're sharing our secrets with the white man. So I said, what secrets? There's no secrets. If you know something, that's not a secret. It's what you don't know. So I knew that, so we had to do that way. And it brought a lot of criticism, it brought a lot of energy that wasn't necessary, but it had to be done. So now everybody's okay with it. Everybody's okay with it. So the laws, that was the 11:11. But I understood that we just had the drop of knowledge. That's all we had. And I knew there was more. So I asked the audience then, a full, it was packed more than what you could imagine with people. But I asked them all to help me with the rest of the message. And they all said, yes. And here's what I noticed in the audience. I just happened to glance, and there was some people sitting in there. I seen this woman grab the glasses off this man's face. She put it on hers. She was reading something. Pretty soon this man reached over, took the glasses off her face, put it back on his eyes, and he was doing something. I was still talking. I glanced again, and she would reach over, grab them glasses off his face, put them on. So that was mainly what I seen in the audience. But I did a 2-hour presentation on the laws. Then later on, we did ceremony. So on that ceremony, then I met these two people. So I asked them, "What's your name?" And it was Silver Star. "What's your name?" "Pathfinder." But he said, "Nathan." "Nathan what?" He said, "Smith." And I knew he was lying to me. So anyway, the Spirit led them to come and help with the rest of the information. We did ceremonies from October all the way to December, New Year's time. So we finished it, then and we've been talking about them since. Then they helped to bring in the other laws they call universal and spiritual laws of universal mother, which is another frequency that we labeled as the 1212. And this here 8-pointed star is part of that influence. Now, then the next set was called the 1313, the universal and spiritual laws of creation. So we have these laws that they were talking about 1,000, 2,000 years ago, that the people were ready for. So we're going to introduce them for those of you that haven't been introduced to them at the workshops, the 1111, the 1212, and 1313. Now, the other thing, what happened, another connection, was everybody's seen petroglyphs, right? And you guys just look at them and stare at them and wondering what the heck they mean. Some of them are automatic. Some of them aren't, because they're made from different star groups, star influences, different clans and tribes that belong to them, and only them could read them. So I had this dream. I'll tell you to it really fast because it materialized almost exactly the way I'm going to tell you. One morning my companion said, "What did you dream?" I said, "Oh, we're going down the road. We were going down the road. And we was going around this corner. We went around this corner, and I seen this big, like little mountain, looked like Devil's Tower. And we had to get to it. We drove in there, and we seen these places. She said, maybe we better check into a motel. I said, they don't have motels here. But all of a sudden, my dream, I seen a motel. So I said, okay, we'll come back to that. They might be closing that gate up there. We got to get in there before they close it. So we went through the visitors section, that little booth, where they take your money and give you a little piece of paper and send you on your way. And so when we went through, there was nobody there, but we went through, and these deer come out. They stopped us. It's 2 big bucks stopped us in front. And so we stopped. Then there's Prairie Dog Town right here. Prairie dogs are sitting up. So I looked, and we watched the deer cross the road, and we watched them go up over this little hill, this little knoll, and went over. So she said, let's go see we'll follow that deer. So we stopped, went over there. We went over this ridge, and this big encampment was there. It was like in a canopy of trees. And we looked, all native ancestry was there. They were all naked. And what was so amazing, they're all quiet. Quiet, and they're laughing. I was looking at them in my way, I was saying, oh, telepathy. So I looked up on the hill, and there was 2 women standing there, 2 grandmas standing there. And there was like lasers coming out their eyes, and these lasers were hitting, making sparks on this wall. And they were etching these pictures for the wall. I was looking at them. And then I went up there, and I was watching them, and they turned around this way, and they looked, but they didn't even look at me. They looked at with Joan, and they looked at her, and they just start smiling, and they ran, and they all start hugging each other, Then they start talking, and I was standing there. They kind of left me out of their conversation. So I turned around and went down to the encampment, and I was standing there. And Orion and Leela, the little ones, the twins were there with all the kids, and the twins had clothes on. Everybody else was naked, all the kids, and they ran up there grabbing out, trying to take their clothes off. And so when Joan and the grandmas come down, she said, well, we got to go. But Orion said, Mom. As soon as she said that, the whole encampment dropped on the ground, holding their ears because there was a sound. And they're holding their ears, and they finally got up. And she said, "We got to go." I said, "Why? Look at this. Why? Why do you want us to go? Look at this." He said, "They got to go to school." That was a statement. So I said, "What?" She said, "Well, they know this now. You know, they know this now." So we went, got in the car, and was sitting there, and we happened to look, and them two grandmas was standing there watching us. So she got out of the car, she ran up there. You know, they got together, and I was sitting there, women. Because they were, you know, I didn't know what they're talking about, but I know it was good. So they came back. I woke up. So that was the dream. And in life, we went over to Utah, and almost exactly that's the way it happened. We seen the women in guarding that gateway up there, two grandmas. GoPro. This is a sports camera. Okay. Hello. My camera wasn't good enough. Oh, this is for your YouTube stuff, right? Okay. He makes some good YouTube videos. So these laws, we learned later that a lot of us are the artists for the petroglyphs, and the stories that happen that created what's there. They're telling us about the future. They're telling us about the future. And one of the first ones that we seen was the people were meeting with a chanupa, a sacred pipe. They're smoking sacred pipe, and this picture was over 7,000 years old. But the white buffalo calf woman told us that her first appearance here was over 15,000 years ago. There's pictures of horses, and they teach you that horses weren't over here. No, we got some horses with riders. There's so much. So we got made three videos. Grandma Chandra is the first one, and she talked and interpreted many petroglyphs. The second one and third one was one petroglyph, and it took 2 hours to interpret. 2 hours. I have one more that I seen, and it just the knowing, the understanding popped in, and I said that's going to take another 2 hours. So I'm getting that ready. But we only brought 3 videos if you're interested in the basics of petroglyphs. So the energy, we need to go to the people of the land. They know. But there's disciplines to approach people of the land, you know. It's not like a tourist mine. What does this mean? What does that mean? You know, they want quick answers like you get them in school or something. But these here takes a while because there's blood that dropped on the ground because of these, and we got to honor that. A lot of our relatives died, were murdered, killed, put in institutions because of the knowledge that they carried. So we have to come into, whether you're down and have a supai, people with your brother Yukwala, he knows. He knows. But there's a discipline that goes with the knowing. And if you don't have that knowing, then you're going to become unknowing. So take your pick. So we're going to present all these next 3 days in our workshops. We have my brother over here. He's one of the chiefs, and if you see his artwork over there, this is the artwork that's put in the books. the books that are over here. So sit and visit with him and his wife, and spend some time with each other, because we're all family. We're all family. We need to help each other. We need each other. And we also doing live streaming. So if you have a message for the people, we have a 10-minute session in between each speaker. If the Spirit moves you to give a message, then you come to my sister here, or give it to one of the speakers and they'll share it. Okay? Sometimes we get up here and you get butterflies and you start crying, you do all sorts of goofy things, make attention to yourself. And so we need to help each other out in many ways. So I wanted to say just that much, and thank you for honoring this time of 11:11. Thank you for honoring this walk, and thank you for honoring this way of love. Mitaku ase.
Would you like to answer some questions?
Sure.
Okay. Drummers, can you hold just a minute? We've been requested that he might answer some questions you have, so please feel free, come from your heart, mind, and keep them balanced. Here, without further ado, you take the mic.
Don't ask a question that you already have the answer to.
They need to know they have the answer.
Yeah, they already have some. See, that's what we're taught for 8 years in our. I'll just share this with you. When my brother and I, there was 12 of us, we were taught by the Spirit, and one of the things they told us was, don't ask any questions, because, as you walk, you're going to find the answer. You're going to find your answer. So have patience. So like 8 years, we didn't ask a question, and during them 8 years, we learned a lot from the Spirit. So when they opened the doors and said, okay, now you could ask some questions, and we're like, huh? Yeah. And sometimes they said, well, if you notice, a lot of people answer their own questions after they ask you. So this is a part of not taking the energy from people sometimes. If they come to you with a problem, usually I say, so what do you feel? They'll give me the answer. You already have the answer. See? You're carrying it yourself. But you just need some, verification, confirmation to what you already know. Right?
Could you answer and explain to them the proper procedure for asking help from an elder or could you? Hello? Could you please direct people as to the appropriate and proper way, formal way actually, of asking a request of an elder or a chief?
There's many ways. Each altar has a way. I'm sure Mr. Yukwala, my brother, will answer, what he was brought up with, along with us. So this altar, I was told through I'll give names because they need to be recognized. One of my brothers, Steve Red Buffalo, my friend, when I didn't expect it, but he told in ceremony at one time, right in the middle of ceremony, he said, if you ever want this man, my brother's help, you go to him and you bring a blanket and you give him a gift. You give him a tobacco, for the kind of help that you want. What you give has to be equal to the help that you're asking, see? So just remember that. Help is given freely, but there's another in a giveaway. The giving is just symbolic to giving your love, So here's what happens. Okay, if I ask my brother here, I need some help. You can say, okay, bring me a deer hide or a buffalo hide or elk hide. Okay. So what do you got to do that? You got to go out. If this was a long time ago, you got to go out. Okay, I have to get an elk. How do I get an elk? You know? Okay, you got to shoot him, kill him, for one. You got to bring him down. Okay, how do you do that? Okay, you got to make a weapon, maybe an arrow. Okay, how do you make an arrow? What kind of wood? What kind of little tree? What kind of willow? Where do you get your point? They're sharp. How do you make them? You know? Where'd you get the types of feathers are all different too. What type of bird do you use to keep your arrow flying straight? Okay, now you got to make something to shoot that arrow with. What kind of wood is the strongest or the one that will, shoot the arrow the farthest? And what do you use for a string? See? It's going to take a learning process. A learning process. Okay, it takes you this time to learn all this stuff. Okay, now where's the elk at? Ah, shucks, I got to go way up there. They hang out over there at Sunrise Ranch. Where in the heck is that at? Oh, we'll Google it. So, okay, now you have to get close to elk, right? You have to get past them horns. Don't mess around with them, especially if they're in rut. Okay, what happens? Maybe you've been lucky and you shoot it out. Oh, what do you do? Okay, what do you do next? What do you do? You have to find a way to open it up, right? And learn how to do that. And what do you use? A knife, right? Okay, you got a knife. What did they use for knives a long time ago? Rocks, You'll find out. You'll learn. Takes a while, but you'll learn. How do you skin them? Yep. Okay, how do you take their insides out? Things like this. What do you use? Okay, you got it all. Okay, the meat. How do you bring the meat down to your encampment or your family? How do you preserve it? There's a lot of questions, And how do you tan that hide that he wants for help? How do you tan it? Anybody know? Any hide tanners? Okay, she got brains. Yeah, brains does it. The brain of any animal is enough to tan its own hide. Okay? So when you get it done, you're going to get it down there. It might have been about 10 years later, and you're going to give it to your koala. And by that time, you're going to forget what you asked him. And he has a free hide. So you learn a lot, and they give you something to do, and it takes away from what problem or issue that you have that you're going to forget, and it's become nothing anyway because it always does. Right? Right. So the Spirit says, don't worry about nothing, because when you start worrying about it, you're going to create it into being. You're going to give your worry energy. But so far, we've been pretty lucky, and so far our worries become nothing. And you always tell people, and you worried about all that? What? Look at nothing to worry about. It's just your own fear. So giving to each other, you feel them, you know them, and sometimes you do it naturally. You go to a store or someplace. Oh, I'm going to give this to Deb. I got a gift to give for some help that she gave you or he gave you. You just automatically give it and say thank you. Could be anything. A hug, pat on the back, a word, a smile, advice, anything. Be sure and give, because that's just showing your love. Okay. Thank you.